Webinar has started.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Mason. I'm with the Arizona International Film Festival. I thank you so much for zooming into us today. We've got an exciting and interesting panel webinar. It's on the making of the feature film DUSTWUN, an independent, a strong immigration film about immigration shot here in Arizona. And that's part of the story too. Arizona and a prime location for film. But you know, to get us into a real film mood and to get us thinking film and imagery and imaging, let's take a look at the trailer to the film and we'll be right back.
John,
Yes.
did you want me to on that, or were you?
TJ, you could do it, please.
Oh, okay, great.
There we go.
I was in a spell most of my life. No problems, everything was easy and mellow. Could feel it all inside.
The time the Martians must have been getting ready.
And I went to war. The panic voices.
Is it streaming?
Yeah, it's because it's streaming.
So it drags.
You know what?
I think you've got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna look more quickly.
Okay. Sorry for that, those technical difficulties there. Anyway, we got a little feel for the film in Arizona and the tensions in it. Okay, so DUSTWUN, the writer-director is Genevieve Anderson. She's here with us. She's going to start things off. Jennifer, would you please say hello and introduce yourself, and then we'll go down the line and introduce the other folks who are on the panel here. Genevieve?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Genevieve Anderson, and I am the writer-director of DUSTWUN. I'm sitting next to Tomas Arceo, who's my cinematographer, and Karen Hernandez, who is my lovely producer. And you guys, if we could have everyone else introduce themselves, that would be great.
Tomas, you want to start?
Yeah, hi, I'm Tomas. I'm Genevieve Anderson, the DP on the film.
Karen?
Producer. Jill?
Hi, I'm Jill Remez, and I played, what was my character's name?
Jill works a lot.
It was a while ago.
We're talking
And I
about
played the Border Patrol agent, sorry.
Wow.
I'm Shay.
I'll
Lopez.
go.
The film was made on my property, and I worked as art director on the film and helped Mr. Ottman build the set.
I'm Crystal Hernandez. I played Marta in DUSTWUN. I am a local actor in Phoenix, Arizona.
Tim? All right, Peter?
Oh, go ahead.
Andy,
Andy?
there, are you with us?
I'm here. My name is Andy Martinez. I played Agent Esposito.
At least you remembered your role.
I just looked.
Jill. So funny.
Jeez. And Peter?
My name is Peter Telenodi. I'm the director of Film Tucson, and I had the pleasure of assisting these talented people with locations and crew and whatnot. And we were delighted to have this film shoot here.
Okay, let's get into some of the nuts and bolts here, the meat of this thing. Genevieve, this is your first film. Tomas, this is your first feature film. Tell us, Genevieve, how this all came together. Now, I understand that you and Tomas have known each other for a long time, but work us through, how did the pieces of this puzzle come together to get from an idea in your head to first day of shooting?
Well, it came out of another project that was supposed to go, fell apart. And a dear friend of mine, Carolyn Cavallero, said, "You're in Southern Arizona. It's a great place to shoot. Get a camera and go tell a story." You know, so I started to talk with Tomas about some ideas. Of course, the wall being here is very, very interesting subject matter. And I have a brother in Border Patrol and was doing some runs with the Green Valley Samaritans and learning about what migrants go through in this part of the world, specifically like right through my backyard. And then Shay said, "Why don't you come to my property and take a look? We've got, you know, this incredible spot." And so I went there and saw all these materials from his family's landscaping business. And we started talking about ideas, and it all kind of downloaded. The story pretty much downloaded in that location with, I think the space itself really inspired it. And the specific space of Tinaja, but also just Southern Arizona and the cultural and political dynamics in this part of the world.
From the moment that you got inspired like this to a finished screenplay, how long did that take?
We did it really quickly. I think about three months or 4 months. Yeah, 4 months of writing, just writing and sharing it with everybody and getting everybody's input and ideas. And Kenny, I think I mentioned this last night, is based on a man that I worked with at the Los Angeles Mental Health Association about 25 years ago. And I had kept the tapes of our conversations, and I knew that he was the lead character. And so we listened to those and transcribed those and started to work out the dialogue, which is, you know, very unusual, but also really appropriate, I think, to the issue of this contentious issue of immigration in this spot, because he views everything in terms of polarities, in terms of angels and demons and right or wrong. And I felt like it was really, really interesting material for this subject matter.
And Shay, back down to the location there, I think I read in some of the publicity and stuff, your place down there, I think you're calling it an active crossing area. What's going on down there, and how did you connect with Genevieve on some of the themes here?
Well, Genevieve and I met in Tubac. I had moved back to Southern Arizona recently to my family's property, or shortly before that, and met Genevieve at an event in Tubac for one of her other films. And the property where I live, we're 30 miles from the border, and there are trails, active trails across the property. We find artifacts all the time, backpacks and discarded items. And so showing Genevieve around the property, you know, we talked about those stories and talked about the place as a, you know, a very live example of what's going on in this area with people crossing the desert. So.
And certainly in the film, there are all kinds of things. Cheryl, you talked last night at the very exciting premiere, by the way, of the film about that scene in the trees there where you're crawling, hiding, and there are some actual things in there. You want to talk a little bit about how you prepared for that role and how you saw that character?
Sure. So I am Mexican American. I have lots of friends of family who have personal stories that I've heard and they've shared. So just being a very personal subject, it hit very close to home. I had an immediate attachment to this character and I really wanted to tell this story. So I'm really happy that worked out in my favor. But yeah, absolutely. Like Shay said, being in a place where you feel that energy and you see the remnants in that scene when Marta is hiding, there was articles of clothing, backpacks, old water bottles, things that were left there. And, you know, they're artifacts that are connected to other human beings who were enduring the very thing that we were trying to capture for this film. And it was impossible not to be touched by it and moved by it. So it really helped to inform the work and the ability to tell this story as authentically as possible.
There's a scene there toward the end, and I want to get Mr. Martinez involved in here in a minute, and Jill too. In terms of the authenticity is probably not the best word, but the true reality. And I mentioned this to you, Genevieve. That scene around the rape tree, was that out there, or was this your writer's imagination to enhance the script?
No, that, I mean, that is a real thing. And I haven't seen a rape tree myself, but I had a documentary filmmaker and a photojournalist show me images of rape trees that they've come across. So, and some people are like, God, that's just believable. Happen all the time. But the fact that they're happening, you know, these rapes are occurring from the coyotes and the people who are traveling with these women. And I also learned that most women will take birth control before they are going to cross in anticipation of being raped. So it's very real. Yeah, definitely not made up.
Wow, very powerful.
And felt important. It's to me, it's a difficult scene, because it's so unpleasant, but it's a reality. And it was important also that we're showing that Kenny, you know, this you know, a man, a veteran, white male, you know, is not taking advantage of Marta. That contrast was also really important too, that he was protecting her, you know, just that side of things.
On that subject there, and to get Andy and Jill involved here a little bit. Andy, first of all, I have to question your judgment on things. I understand you had a professional baseball career lined up and you chose to get into acting. I wonder about that.
Yeah, a lot of people wonder about that.
So tell us about that that scene there with you and Jill. She takes you out there, Agent Clark, and kind of puts it right in your face, so to speak, you know, and says, got some issues here to look at. That was a tough scene.
You know, those are just things I don't think about, you know, as a man. Being there that day, you know, that subject, I mean, everything was just kind of heavy. And when you're walking out there and Tim was, you know, putting the touches on the trees and you start hearing that it's a real issue, it's a real story. You know, the kind of the fun and games of my job go, you know, out the door, and it becomes a lot more serious. And working with a crew full of, you know, there's a lot of ladies in our crew. I could just kind of see the weight of the matter in their eyes, and you know, it was heartbreaking. I didn't do much acting.
Jill, what's your recollection of that scene? And you're kind of a strange character in that film. You're kind of on one side, then you're on another side. You know, Kenny, we got to follow the law out here, and you're out there with Esposito. You got to show some compassion. I mean, that was a tough role.
I remember feeling when I read the script, I loved it, and I loved the character, and I loved the complexity of the character. And I felt she was sort of the moral compass, that able to see more sides than the black and white that Kenny would see, or that Esposito would see. You know, that people were multifaceted, and situations were multifaceted. And so she was able to see that, which I really liked. Yeah. And so in that scene, that was to me, I think, you know, my mom moment. I was being, you know, his mother / teacher, because he just seemed like he was young and out of control and didn't have a good understanding. And that was my way of illustrating something that you can say it, but unless you see it, it's not going to have the impact. So to me, that was my character saying, you need to see something. You need something that's going to be impactful enough that it's going to affect you. And that was my moment. That was for me, that moment. So.
And there's a moment of truth too for you, because with all the talk about, you know, undocumented people and the people, this, and all these issues, you're the one who apprehends Marta.
Strictly business, Sonny. So I think, but it's sort of, there's the job and there's humanity. And I think for Agent Clark, which is a very important name I will never forget again. Clark.
Now it's unforgettable.
But I think there is something to be said for there's the job, and bringing humanity to the job makes it that gives me the opportunity to protect people. It gives me an opportunity as Agent Clark to if I leave it to other people, they may not be as conscientious as I would be. So yes, I'm doing my job, but I'm doing it with humanity.
And been kind of saving Tomas for last year. There's a reason for that. He went to Michigan and I went to Ohio State. That's kind of, I know it's boy, the sacrifices we have to make here to, anyway, Mr. Tomas, you got your BFA at Michigan and got into still photography and filmmaking. Tell us, and this was your first feature film. How did that happen? And what would you say were your biggest challenges in thinking silver screen, moving images as opposed to still images?
Sure, I did get my BFA in still photography at University of Michigan, but I'd also been working on films since I was about 10 with my brother and my dad's like Super 8 camera, and did some films at Michigan. And so I've always been working within the medium throughout the years, but shooting shorts here and a bunch of shorts there and whatnot. This is my first feature. I think one of the biggest challenges was just the complexity of a lot of the equipment and having multiple things going on at once. So I really had to rely a lot on the fantastic crew that we got here in Southern Arizona, like Derek Carlson, First AC, David Isley, the Nate Shelton, who's our key grip, and Lily Golson, best boy, fantastic people. And so I would rely on them saying, hey, I kind of want to do this. How do you think we should do this? What's the best way? I would do this way. Do you have a better way? So relying on the crew like that really, really helped out, really made this thing work, as spectacularly as it did.
Now that you're raising some issues there about the local input with crew, cast and crew and so forth. And Peter, we're going to get to you here on this. But Tomas, how did you get to know what was out here? I mean, that in terms of resources and technical personnel and so forth, was that Genevieve? Was it at Peter's office? How did that happen?
Yeah, though that I got that through Genevieve. Genevieve says I have some connections, and so you were bringing in people that you knew from Peter, right?
From Peter, yeah. And Peter would, this is a relatively small film community, so everybody pretty much knows everybody else, which is great. So we knew what we had and what we didn't have, and we brought in a couple of people from Los Angeles, but it was really important to me to cast and to hire as much as possible from Southern Arizona. This is, again, it's a great community.
Peter, do you want to get in, chime in here? Peter?
Sure. I would say actually we kind of like it when there's a mix of people from Tucson that are working on a film and people from outside Tucson, because I think it brings some fresh perspectives to the story. And I think that certainly showed in your work. That's, I think, what made it so great. And we're part of the tourism office. So of course we love it when people from outside Tucson come and stay here and they see the sunshine and the beautiful sights. And so it's just a great thing for us all around. I also want to add, I was praising the filmmakers before we went live, but I'm going to do it live and embarrass them even more. The cinematography is just stunning. And for any film commission, this is a goldmine for us, because these films play at festivals around the world, and people that maybe they haven't heard of Tucson, or they vaguely know about Tucson, and they're seeing these electronic postcards essentially of Tucson sights, of our clouds and the sun and the light and the moonlight. That scene where the character's going through the door and the blue moon is gorgeous. We love that kind of stuff. So it was really exciting to see the film, because from a film commissioner's point of view, that's just gold for us. We're so delighted that people around the world are going to see this film and see the beauty of Tucson and see a great story. So for us, it's all win-win.
That's awesome.
Peter, did you tell us, I know this can get pretty complicated, but give us a simple overview of the permit situation on things like this. When an independent company comes in and they want to go down to Green Valley and Shay's place, is it private property, and there are other ranch lands and stuff? How does all of this work?
Well, and Genevieve, you might have to refresh my memory. I don't remember. I remember some permits coming up, but it was, since you were mostly on private land, it was actually pretty easy from our point of view.
It really, and coming from LA, where permits are super expensive and nobody wants to give them to you, and it's just a pain in the butt, from top to bottom. It was incredible here. It was like, I'm getting permits, and you connected me to Wheaton, someone out of the Phoenix office, Bureau of Land Management, one of those, because we were going to be on roads, and we went through the paces. But I think we ended up getting a permit, but it didn't cost anything, and it was really easy. And we didn't have, we had production insurance, obviously, but we didn't have to get permitted at the Santa Cruz Detention Center, which was a big deal. Yeah. So it was super filmmaker friendly place to shoot. Yeah.
How say that again? You did not have to have a permit there at the detention center?
No, we signed a location agreement.
Yeah, it was contractual, and it was more one-on-one versus going through many hoops. They were very easy to work with. We told them what we needed, and then it was a couple phone calls, and then paid a check, and we were done. And it was very easy and friendly, and people were interested. They wanted to help out.
Yes, Karen, maybe you could continue on that, because I'm guessing we did not mean to neglect your role and input in the film, and you have an amazing career. I mean, you've worked in the studio system and archiving. You've worked as a producer, assistant producer, a lot of projects. Continue, if you would, on DUSTWUN, on some of the locations that were used, and move. I'm guessing that a lot of the tempo and pace and force behind the thing came from you to get to keep people moving and get it all organized.
I mean, I would say that there was a lot of movement. There was a lot of, it was a lot to capture in a very short time period. Fortunately enough, Shay's area and his ranch had multiple locations on it. And then there were other locations that we had to go out to go seek for, which was good. And, you know, and it's a beautiful place to shoot. And you don't have the technical difficulties like with Los Angeles and the red tape, you know, because you're up for, you don't have anybody getting in your way. And this was very easy to do multiple locations and pilot in to a small time period.
In the search for locations, did Peter's office help? Peter, you've got, when someone comes in and says, we want to do this, and we've got an idea for that, locations around the Tucson southern area, do you have staff that help in that process?
Sure, or I do it myself. We have thousands, tens of hundreds of thousands of location photos of various spots. So, and it was some time ago when this started shooting. So I think I helped you with some locations, but I think you found most of it on your own, right?
No, but also Jim Collette was the person you connected me to, and he was wonderful. He just was like, yeah, let me help. What can I do? So he hooked us up with some shots and gave us some ideas of places to go. So that was really, really helpful. And again, very, very fluid.
You know, back to the photography, the cinematography, Peter highlights if people watching have seen this movie, they're going to just be blown away. I mean, it's not only, it looks great, it's very well acted. Everyone's done a superb job, but that just doesn't happen, you know, without a hell of a lot of effort and stuff before we see it. And so, Tomas, I'm thinking about some very basic kind of things for cinematography, but you like the campfire scenes, you know, where Kenny and Marta are out, and doing their stuff, and they're eating or talking or whatever, and there's just a campfire. Well, but we know there's, from a cinematographer's POV, you got to like that scene.
Sure.
What's your technique on stuff like that? How did you make it look natural? But I'm sure there was some artificial light in there someplace.
Yes, there was. We didn't have a large lighting package, but we worked with very efficiently. When I was speaking with Genevieve and Tim Ottman about these campfire scenes, I said, so what are we gonna do with this campfire? Tim's like, I'll just build a fire. I was like, we're gonna be shooting 8 hours. The fire needs to be consistent. I ran up to Home Depot and talked to a guy, and I was like, I need to build a campfire. So we propane, pipes, gas line, copper, drill some holes, weld it together. I had a campfire. Yeah. So, and so we did that. Now, one of the amazing things about it is trying to light those scenes with just a couple of sources. And of course, Nate Shelton, our first campfire scene, he said he's like, we had set up a couple of sources, and he's like, well, do you want the firelight effect? And I was like, yes. Of course I do. What's the firelight effect? And he stands in front of the source with his fingers, and he does this, and it creates that little sparkle from a campfire, which I'm like, genius! My God, genius! So yeah, so we had Nate's fingers in all the campfire shots.
And two, we're got so much to cover here, but again, to Peter's point, we got one long picture postcard here of how great Southern Arizona looks. Yet in the film, the desert can be very cruel and mean. Sure. And as I think I mentioned to Genevieve, it's like a character, and Marta, it was hardly a friendly, beautiful place to you. It was death. And yet, and again, from a photographic point of view, as I know you know much better than I do, the sun can sometimes be your worst enemy. I mean, so bright, so blazing. You don't want it bright and blazing. I mean, you need shadow. You need. How did you deal with the sun in Southern Arizona during monsoon season?
We had a lot of umbrellas, sun umbrellas, and water,
But I mean, was there a lot of diffusion and filtering?
Well, the thing is, at that point, if we're in a large enough environment, you're not going to be able to diffuse it. We don't have those, those capabilities, and it would look artificial. So what you would need to do is pull in a little bit of fill someplace just to open up those shadows a bit. Again, shooting digitally, there's a lot of work in post-processing that you can help yourself out in that realm. But overall, we shot this pretty clean as far as the lighting is concerned. The outdoor stuff is like straight up sunshine and some bounce fills. Really, really pretty guerrilla on that note. But Genevieve and I talked about this before principal photography, and we said we need to make the desert its own character, much like you mentioned there. It says we need to have people feel that they're in it, to understand the nature of the nature of the danger that's there, and to understand what it takes to try and cross this area.
We're getting into a little time crunch time, but I do have to ask maybe Shay, and it's too bad Tim isn't here, but of course, the central image and theme in this whole film, of course, is the wall, is Kenny's wall. And I'm very curious as to how this got to be what we see in the movie. I mean, your walls keep people out, walls keep people in, they're good, they're bad, but how did you see this thing actually looking, and what was your intention in terms of how you wanted it to play in the film?
Well, based on the materials that we had at hand, a lot of the stuff was found right here on our property and was stuff from old projects past. So we started with just a bunch of raw material, and with Tim's direction, we ended up building this wall, to create that sort of fortress look, but also to play on the idea of the absurdity of it, and to use that as a symbol of Kenny's place. It's a wall, but it's only 60 feet long. You can walk around either end of it. It's got those windows in it that somehow allow him to see the demons on the other side, or to see the bad that he's supposedly keeping out. And then of course the door in the middle, to let things in and out, and that's sort of his place of securing it. At night he makes sure that's shut, and lets people in and out through that, and shuts it behind him to secure himself. But we know how absurd that all is, and playing on the idea of this real literal wall that we have in the desert, and sort of the absurd nature of that wall. So we tried to represent all of those things in that crazy construction. And
Andy, Agent Esposito, you take your shots there with Kenny on the wall. You go around it. You're not a very respectful guy there at a few points.
No, I don't get invited to a lot of parties.
And yet you've got a little conflict too in the film. You've got a little problem with someone in your family. That was a nice little thing there going on with you.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a nice touch because, it's just a situation that no matter where you are, it affects everybody in some capacity. And even though, he felt like he was safe and was doing all the right things, leave it to the government, somebody fucked up now he's stuck and getting a little bit of a small taste of, other people's harsher realities, right?
And Agent Clark, why did you feel it was so important to work on Esposito? I mean, that scene in the car where, he wants the air conditioner turned on and you're playing it, oh no, we got some lessons to learn here. I mean,
if he's going to take over the mantle of my job, he needs to do it right. Like I said, I felt like I was the mom. I was Kenny's mom. I was Esposito's mom. I was even Marta's mom, and that I just had to teach people and keep them safe. And lessons aren't learned easily. You have to be harsh if you want them to really sink in.
What would have happened though in real life, if something like that had happened, where an agent is kind of abusive to somebody and he's been obviously drunk out of his mind, he kind of would be not on the force very long, wouldn't he?
Like Esposito, I would say ask Genevieve.
Those kinds of abuses happen all the time. So
Wow.
One of the things I've learned from my stepbrother is that just the gamut of the kind of individual that is drawn to Border Patrol is vast. Some are working with the cartels, some turn the other cheek, some are compassionate, many, by dint of the job they're asked to do, have to dehumanize the migrant, which is why we use the term illegal alien. It's not accurate, but it's also demeaning. And they have to do it because, just like in war, you have to dehumanize the other, right, in order to be able to do your job. So,
And yet,
they get away with a lot. Border Patrol agents get away with a lot, and there's some really good ones too. So.
and Jennifer, the movie ends on kind of it ends on a number of different a number of different notes are played. The narrator comes in again, and Marta is back in Mexico, and Kenny's on one's north, one's south, and your narrator says we're kind of in the middle on this, and that's what it's a little of this, it's a little of that, and it starts out, as you say, I think the word your narrator uses, it's a mirage, what we're looking at. Do you have some thoughts on kind of the overall perspective you were trying to get us to?
Yeah, we worked on that a lot. It was really important to me that there were these bookends, because the movie to me is more like a play than a movie, really. Everything's happening in real time. The fake beard, the wall, the colors of the costumes, it's all very representational in a way, which is intentional, because it is a play. And reality is a play. Everything is bracketed within the laws of Mother Nature. Everything unfolds, history unfolds within the laws of Mother Nature. So that's why Kenny is not, that figure in the beginning and the end is not really Kenny. He's sort of the eternal being. He's the one who witnesses the unfolding of this particular moment in time, this drama with walls and immigration. It's just a drama. It's just unfolding in time. It will pass away. So mirage, meaning the movie's a mirage. It's all a mirage. Everything's a mirage, and the most important component of it, right, is that we're looking at something bigger than us, and that we remember that the law of nature is much higher, always higher than any law of man. So calling someone an illegal alien is against the laws, in my opinion, of nature, certainly the laws of God. So it was just meant to bracket and contain the story we were telling.
I asked you this last night at the premiere, and maybe again for hopefully a much larger audience. Not quite sure how many we have, but again, you made this. You made this film in 10 days of production, and I'm curious as to, can you share with us your budget, how you raised money, how long it took to get from all of that to production, and how you could justify 12-hour shooting days, how that worked?
Yeah, I think we stayed
pretty close to
we had very little overtime.
Wow.
Yeah, I started.
Karen, you must be a real taskmaster on that set.
No, it was moved quickly and efficiently, and everybody was as professional as possible.
Circumstances.
Despite the circumstances.
We have a whole circumstance we're not even going to talk about today. But we had a lot of pressures. We had a lot of things to overcome that were consistent. So it was hard. It was like we had a gun to our head the entire time. So and we did do some pickups afterwards. We realized we needed certain types of things. I was shooting the bugs on my iPhone.
Well, the special effect scene, Tomas, the blue vision that Marta sees. Tell us about that scene.
Yeah, so I shot some of those star fields. I do a lot of astrophotography as well. So I was shooting some star fields for that scene, and then we had a visual effects supervisor, Brian Pete, who worked with Genevieve and Karen over many years.
Yeah.
And he and Genevieve designed that scene, and he put that together for us.
And Marta, what did you see in that blue light?
A vision of my what's the word? Not deity, but La Madre Santa. She was the one who was guiding me during the journey. And I kept hitting roadblock after roadblock, questioning, am I doing the right thing? Where do I need to go? I'm lost. That was my answer, that I was doing the right thing to continue to persevere and to just fall and trust and that faith that I would be led to where I needed to be.
And if I can interject that component, one of the most interesting things while writing this, in the first draft, she had like a GPS, and my stepbrother Border Patrol, he's like, Jenny, like, what do you, nobody has a map. There's no, you've got a coyote maybe, but what they do have, and so I did a bunch of research on it, most migrants who cross the desert, deeply, deeply religious culture, have medallions. God is literally their guide. In fact, I was with the Samaritans and we encountered a migrant from Central America who came up to us and asked for help. And I started talking to him and asking him his story. And it was his 5th time crossing. He had sold his house, he had family in the States. I said, how did you know that we were good people? How did you know that we weren't going to turn you in? He said, I just asked God. Pide a Dios. I'm like, that's remarkable. The faith is remarkable. To me, it's the most remarkable thing, which is why that color blue is threaded throughout the whole story. It's her faith is like, it's astonishing. It's beautiful.
And where did you get that central theme, that musical theme that plays throughout the movie?
Haley Moss, who's our composer, who's just did such a beautiful job. I think the music in the movie is just gorgeous. And Jaunt is the singer-songwriter who wrote the song in the movie and the song that's at the end. So we got very lucky.
That's the, what's that, the song, the title?
Superstar is
Super.
the movie, and then Maylight is the one at the end. Yeah.
It just works in as a theme so well at so many moments. And throughout some of these scenes, if you're listening, there's just this, you work in some low chords in there. There's just this vibe as the scene plays out.
I wish she was here to talk about that. She's wonderful. She's an incredible, and the whole process. She had a lot to do with the poems too on either end. She helped shape that a lot, as did Karen and Tomas. That took a lot. Anyway, she did a beautiful job. I think she's just an incredible artist.
We have a question from our audience, and someone is asking, if you were to make the film today, would it be the same movie?
Oh God, no. No, I think of this as a draft. I love it. I really love it, and I think there's some timeless elements to it, and I didn't want to make something that was too seated in the real issue. I mean, again, the density of the real issues. It's so much to unpack. It's why there's so many documentaries on this subject right now, right? Because there's so much to unpack. I would do it all over again, and I would do it as a limited series, or I would do it. I would do the movie again with a complex narrative, with each character really getting into the backstories of each one of them, because symbolically, especially Kenny, who's kind of given short shrift in this version of it. He's such an interesting character, and you get like it's just this much of it. It's just the way the movie worked out. So I'd love to do it again.
And there's another question. Someone is asking that, given your short shooting schedule and so forth, and a lot of pressures, were there any changes on set in the script? Did you shoot it as you wrote it? If there were changes, how did you? I mean, did you make some quickly, or any of that stuff going on? Like when you actually got into it, no, it works better the other way, or?
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Again, a long story, but I started like a week before. Jill remembers this. I had given the script to someone to do a rewrite on, and she took out all the key scenes, and I was like, "Where's my movie?" And Jill's like, "Where's the movie?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I'll put it back together." So I was like putting it back together while we were shooting, which is not at all a good way to go. But so there was not so much ad-libbing as much as there was just recreating it. And again, that's the play aspect of it. It did have an improvisational feel, because we knew what the core of it was, but how we got there was not at all the way things are generally done.
Well, and so much of Marta, I mean, is nonverbal.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, how did you, no, that's not the right mug shot. Give me a little less mug, give me more tears, less tears. I mean, how does this work?
Crystal is I mean, she just knew how to do everything, and she brought a lot to it as well. She brought the prayer at the altar and the song that she sings to Juan, and she just had so much input for this character, and so much just natural feel for Marta. which was such a blessing. And she was willing to fall down. Like the first day we had her fall down that hill. She really hurt herself. She hurt her knee. She's like, nope, I got it. Do it again. Yep. Just, you know, was such a champ.
Go and hurt yourself better.
All of the actors, you asked about the environment and how we coped with that. These actors were just incredible and so, you know, so professional, and were willing to work in harsh conditions with very little money. And I feel
Well, you said last night that you did a fairly rigorous casting call and tested here, tested there.
Yeah.
You think we've got some talent here in Arizona?
Tremendous talent. Yeah, it's a much smaller pool. So that's the only thing. It just felt like I had to go a little bit wider. So I'm so glad I did, because I met you, Jill, and I met you, Andy. Oh, I love these guys.
And Shay, there was a question for you that how was the experience filming on your ranch, and would you do it again?
It was a wonderful experience to be part of. Let's put it that way. Learned a lot.
Indeed. All right, we're getting close to wrapping things up here. I've got to ask Peter, if you, what's your word to independent producers? You're looking for things, you know, if they want to shoot, you know, a heavily metropolitan area, maybe, you know, that's New York or Paris, but if, what do we have for independent producers? What's our strength? What can we offer?
Oh, our strengths are lots and lots and lots of sunshine. If you're filming outdoors, we have a very strong crew base. We're particularly strong in grip and lighting, equipment and personnel, and art department. We can get you, we have free city permits, free county permits. We can get you PAs from the University of Arizona. It's just a really easy place to film. So any of you filmmakers watching, please do contact us, because we'll help set you up.
Excellent. And Jill, Genevieve.
Wanted to offer, since we're noticing that there's a lot of questions still. If anybody wants a question answered, go to DUSTWUN on Facebook and just leave us a message, and we're happy to answer questions there.
Because I don't know if we end the Zoom call, we won't still be able to answer the questions, right? Yeah. So
Let's see here.
there's a few we could answer. So
Someone is asking, did you have a particular audience in mind before writing the script? And what is your planned vision for exhibition and distribution? Very good question.
Yeah, no, the audience, I hope is you know, is again, everybody, you know, yeah, that opens, you know, hearts and minds for people, and, you know, from all different backgrounds. We do have a distributor. House of Film has picked up the film, and we have one license from Somos TV. That's probably where it will be streaming, but we're not yet. And then what's that? And Beluga is also another platform. It's an educational platform that's going to use the movie to teach kids nationally and internationally. So they develop curriculums around movies and documentaries. So we're really excited about that. My kids will see it.
And what's the festival strategy? What's the distribution plan?
Well, we have the distribution with House of Film, so that's international distribution. So the distribution part is taken care of, and so festivals are just now starting to open up. So we're looking forward to doing more festivals and having more of these discussions for sure.
There's a question, Genevieve, two questions for the director. I find interesting that you call it a fable. What is the fable of this story? And the second question is, whose story is this? Kenny's, Marta's, Esposito's? What's the purpose of the opening and closing voiceover?
Right. Well, I think I mentioned the purpose of the opening and closing, the bracketing of the story within, again, this larger context. And a fable because it's so simple. It's a fable about kindness. It's a fable about how we need to be with one another. So, and I think in terms of whose story it is, I thought it started when I wrote it. It was Kenny's, but I actually think I think it's everybody's story. I really do. Everybody has their own arc within it and their own. And even though Clark is again the mom, what we don't know is that her career is over. She helped somebody who helped an undocumented Migrant. And so we thought about putting that moment in there, but I'm like, again, I don't want to go that deep. I don't want it to be about that. But yeah, her career is over. So for that act of kindness that she showed toward Kenny. So I think it's all of their stories, each one.
Well, as this is for Tomas and for you, Genevieve, as a first-time feature filmmaker, what were the lessons you learned?
Let's see. Get more money, have more time.
Yeah, and do your proper vetting, you know, with the kind of people that you bring on, you know, to a team, because it's a microcosm, and it's really important that it is balanced and healthy. So being really careful about that, and you know, outside of one individual, though everybody was tremendous, but one individual can do a lot of damage. So
what's remarkable about one of the remarkable things about you in this film is you know, you've got a long list of very high quality short films, but they're largely in animation, motion. And here we get into a feature film. I mean, that's a huge jump in genres and in production activity. Is this are you going to continue in the feature realm?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. We're in development with another puppet animation project, but we've been talking about the next thing we'd like to do here. So when we do that, we will take some more time and find more money up front. So
any quick thoughts on fundraising? Anything that worked? Anything that you might suggest?
It's really hard. We got so lucky with Lori Tanner, our executive producer. She just, that was just a great deal of luck. And I have a lot of debt. I'm going to be honest. Like I started with a tiny pot of money, and I'm like, I'm going to make it for this, and it went to here. So I'm still managing that. And so don't go into debt. I would say don't, you know. But there was a point where I realized it's going to cost this, and I'm either going to stop and pull the plug, or I'm going to make a movie. And I realized on my deathbed, what will I care most about? And it was making the movie. So we went ahead and did it. So yeah, for first-time filmmakers, absolutely Kickstarter and Indiegogo fundraising. Raise what you can and make the movie on that as much as possible, you know.
And there is a question on funding. Can you share generally what the production budget was?
Was that? I don't know that we're supposed to say that or not supposed to say that. Let's say it was. Was
it under $1 million?
Oh my God. Yes, but it was over 100. It was over 100. Well, south of $1 million. We could have done a lot with $1 million. We had to have some sex. We would have had to have blood, right? There had
car chases and explosions.
Some more like action. This is a contemplative, poetic film.
Well, you know, but that, you know, it's an interesting thought you raised, because you raised it in the beginning. Is here we have this completely, almost not completely, but almost completely helpless young lady out there in the desert, and here's this war veteran who's a complete nutcase, and the tension, so to speak, are kind of strong there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just wondering, Marta, in the character, you know, you had to, you know, kind of get some of that out there, you know, just what's going to happen to me going into this place.
Yeah, I mean, I think Marta was in a moment of enough desperation that she was willing to roll the dice and see, you know, hope that coming across Kenny under these circumstances was going to work out for the better, you know, again, falling back on her faith and trusting that she was led to this moment for a greater purpose. And even though there is, you know, he's eccentric. I mean, there's just no way around it. Even with that communication barrier, with the language not being there, it was clear that he was an unusual person. So she had to navigate around really the feeling and rely on that to be able to guide her decision. There was, you know, the scene with the knife that, you know, he's going through my things, and all of a sudden that's the first thing that I see. I've maybe I've made a mistake. I need to get out of here. But coming back to him and finding these moments of humanity with him, I think helped to sort of strengthen that trust and to really solidify that he was someone who was going to help and protect her. And he proved it time and time again, in spite of these little moments that, were jarring to her. I was also really grateful that the movie kept it at a place, not of romance. I felt like that would have been a little cliche, that it really was about just humanity and finding friendship, in spite of all of the obstacles that these two had.
Well, guys, I think our time is about up. We want to maybe start with Andy and go around the horn. Any last thoughts? Any things you'd like to say about the film or filmmaking or shooting in Arizona? I'm sure everyone has some wonderful things to say about the Arizona International Film Festival.
This truly is from my heart. I've had been to tons and tons and tons of festivals with my short films. So this is a kind of a renewed journey, and to really begin here is, it's so welcoming, and I love this community so much. I love how the festival is run. You guys have been amazing, really, truly amazing. So I can't wait to make another movie here.
Thank you so much. Karen?
I agree with all of it. And, just working as far as from a financial standpoint, you can get a lot more for your money here. And, and beauty, you can't get the beauty, and the lighting is just phenomenal, and the nature. So I'm 100% for Arizona.
I had a great time shooting in Arizona. I'll be back in Arizona on Saturday for a week. So the time of the festival didn't work for me, but I love being in Tucson. I loved hanging out at the Congress Hotel, and I came back, and the first thing I did was I jotted down like 30 pages of a screenplay idea, that to take place in Tucson. Great people. I mean, I had a great time. And those, what are those things that scared the shit out of me called?
Javelinas.
Javelinas.
Yeah, yeah.
The state animal.
Yeah, I think when you import your artist, there should be some sort of warning disclaimer that the film commission puts out or something. But
Andy was a little scared walking the mean streets of Tubac because
it was pitch black.
Got to be careful. Jill, some parting thoughts.
What I always thought Arizona was a desert until I went to Green Valley, and I couldn't believe how beautiful it was and what a perfect name that is. It is truly, it looks like Shangri-La, and I was surprised, and especially because it was so very hot when we were shooting in August. So green yet incredibly hot.
Crystal.
I just want to thank you guys for allowing our film to play in this festival. I agree. I think that it was beautiful. Being out there yesterday was awesome. The venue was great, and everyone's been so kind and generous. And I do agree. I think that this is a wonderful place with a lot of untapped resources that we should be using. We have amazing people. We have a wonderful film community and a lot to offer.
Shay, any parting shots?
I'll make a movie on my property again. It just won't be about a crazy guy.
I think there's a lot in there that we'll look into later.
Yeah.
Peter, finish it up for us.
Oh, well, everyone else gave such accolades about Arizona. So actually, I'll give the accolades about the film. There was someone in the comments that said, please don't give away the ending yet, or don't give away the ending, please. So I'm excited. There's someone watching this that hasn't seen the film yet. So that's so exciting. You're going to get to see these fantastic performances by Jill and Crystal and Andy. You're going to get to see the beautiful, beautiful cinematography of Tomas. It's you're just going to love it. So everyone go out and see the film if you haven't seen it already. And congratulations to Dow Jazz Films, another great film on their roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks again, everyone, for a great conversation. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you so much for being a part of the festival, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everyone.